and we come to my favoriteest question of all. Every interview always gets this question.
Is that why is my wife so good looking?
No, because not everybody has your wife. So, and you are fortunate in that way.
Everyone knows how much I love my wife.
And he does, folks. He really does. And she loves you back. I have no idea why, but she does.
Neither do I.
The operative question is, what is the proper role of government? And we always see this tussle between conservatives and constitutionalists and libertarians saying it must be smaller, it must do what it's supposed to do and do it exceedingly well, but in very limited functions, versus the progressive and Democrat Socialists of America wanted to do everything. And we've seen that lately at the federal level. So my question is, based on what you just said, 68 agencies here in state government, a lot of them doing their own thing and continually saying, okay, we're going to do a little bit more, a little more. It's death by 1,000 increments. Too big, too small, or just right for the size of government?
Honestly, Skip, I think you should come to this chair because you just gave one of the best answers I've ever heard. So I don't even have to answer it because you provided the answer to it. I mean, there's no question that I believe our government is too big, too broad, too bold. It's lost touch with the people. It doesn't respect us. It doesn't respect our tax money. It's incredibly inefficient. You know, when times are tough, and times are tough right now economically, it's real tough. There's three things government can do. It can raise taxes, and there's obviously, should be, very little appetite for doing that. The second thing it can do is it can cut. Now, we just made the largest cut in the history of our state. I completely supported it. It was needed to be done. But the challenge is how it affects the third thing it can do. Because if you just cut and don't do anything else, you're expecting government to continue to do the same job with just less money. So you actually haven't fixed the problem. What we need to do is the third thing, and we need to do the third thing first. It is time for us to fundamentally reform how our government operates. We haven't looked at this in 30 years. I've written a white paper about it. We need to change how our government in our state comes together, operates completely from top to bottom and left to right.
The way that it operates only, or in what it is actually tasked to do? Oh. Is it a case of how it does it versus what is it doing?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, you guys know, and all the Croxers out there have heard me before. I'm a traditional New Hampshire Yankee Republican with a great mix of libertarian and constitutional conservative. I think our government's too big. I think it's trying to do too many things. And what makes that even worse, it's doing them poorly. So it's wasting your tax dollars due to inefficiency and inability. We need to look at all of it. We need to go back and focus on those core things that government is supposed to do.
Can you give us a brief synopsis of the highlights of your white paper, since nobody's seen it, read it? I haven't read it, unfortunately. I'm sorry. I'm going to read it now.
Well, we can always ask him for a guest post too.
We could. Yeah.
You could ask for a guest post. But, you know, it's big, it's long, honestly, it's a 20 or a 30-minute answer, but let me give you a couple snippets of it to kind of show where I think we need to reform our government. Let's start just with the 11 agencies that interact with business. You know, I mentioned earlier we have 68 state agencies. 11 of our state agencies interact with business. On and above the fact we call it DRED with its sub-department DED, you know, just again, we talk about the cultural shift we need to have. For us, economic development for the state of New Hampshire has turned into a joke nationwide. But let's back up. 11 state agencies. To show you how archaic and how truly out of touch our government is with its people, if you call up the DRA, our version of the IRS, who by the way has been auditing people at 16 times the IRS, we're hammering our people. 16 times more than the federal government, on and above that. If you call up our DRA, they say we have 76,000 businesses in New Hampshire. If you call over to the Secretary of State's office, you know, the place that records the organization of your business, they say we have 120,000. Now, if you call up the Department of Employment Security, you know, the people that go and organize whether or not you've laid someone off and they're eligible for benefits, they say we have 146. Now, that in itself,
consistency.
Now that in itself should make cause rise, right? again, let's narrow it down. Let's make the assumption we have 150,000 businesses operating in our state. Those 11 agencies today have about 10,000 different forms. And it's not even just the fact that we have the forms out, it's the fact that if you want to interact with your government in the state of New Hampshire today, you need to essentially in every case, go online, pull off a PDF, so pull off a blank hard copy. You have to self-populate every single form, every single time, put it into an envelope and mail it in with your 41-cent stamp. Now, why is it I can sit in this chair with my iPad if I had it and could go on eBay or go on Amazon and buy a car in Arizona, pay for it, and have it shipped to my house? I brought in people from Federal Express and UPS and said, this is how our state operates today. What does it cost us to make one transaction? I think it costs us $30 a transaction. Both of those entities came back and both of them said $50 a transaction. So this is the part, ladies and gentlemen, where we have the math test. 150,000 businesses. I think, on average, that each business fills out 3 forms a month. That means just these 11 of the 68 agencies are handling 450,000 forms every month. That's 5.4 million forms a year at $30 a piece. So in the end, today, we're spending $162 million a year to open the mail. Now, when I want to talk about efficiencies, there is absolutely no reason whatsoever through what we call the Business One Stop. Now, this is one of those places that I'll give John Lynch, Governor Lynch, some credit. I went to him with this program. We allocated some money in order to take every form we have and put it up online as an editable text. By being able to do that and doing some other technology advantages, and we can talk about that later.
Please do. We're techies.
We're techies. Well, those 11 agencies have 60 separate databases. 60. Part of the challenge in trying to make this work is consolidating these databases. Now, we know with the ASC system over at HHS, we've spent $60 million, we've spent 7 years and never turned the darn thing on. In addition to that, now they want to make a change to the large-scale database, and I think we threw another $7 million on a program that still isn't working. By the way, I voted against doing that. Today, the technology exists that's truly intelligent business, that we can have self-created major databases, because the era of databases no longer exists. It's actually becoming obsolete. So there's some great companies out there like IBM and HP and Oracle and others that are creating these intelligent database systems that you can just lay on top of all these existing databases and self-populate. So we have the ability for literally pennies on the dollar for what we're spending today to make it easy for our business owners to come to our state, to enter it, to form, to educate, to report, all aspects of it we can do online. Now think about that $162 million for 150,000 businesses. We have 1.3 million people in our state. What if we could do something like that to every single agency? We could save $1 billion.
Croc TV.